Sage Wanderer here, and it's time for another episode of Story Time with Uncle Sage. So, this is the story of the time that, oh, by the way, I'm fishing, so if I throw the phone down, you'll know I'm catching fish, but they haven't been biting all afternoon, so I should be safe to get through this video. But this is the story of the time that I found a enormous horde, a ginormous pack of feral dogs running wild on the Texas plains. So my sister and I were looking for rural property east and south of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And eventually we would both purchase some land really close to each other, way out in the sticks. 45 minutes from Fort Worth, 30 minutes from the nearest Walmart. Yeah, you're your own cop, your own fireman, your own first responder out there. And neighbors tend to stick together. And yeah, rural life in Texas is definitely not for the faint of heart, especially since you share the land with the snakes. And the feral dogs, the coyotes, mountain lions, they have them there as well. Yes, there are mountain lions in north central Texas. Seen them with my own eyes. They get up to 180 to 250 pounds, big cats. But we're talking about feral dogs. One of the things that makes feral dogs so frightening is that they don't really possess the natural fear of man that coyotes and other wild canines, they're a little bit scared of people, and they have some respect for humans. Whereas the feral dogs are not afraid of you. They don't see you as the threat that a wild dog would, which can make them dangerous when they're desperate and in large packs. So we were really just driving around backwoods looking for signs for property, land for sale, houses for sale. And we often found ourselves in some very, very far out of the way places. And back then there was no GPS, and we were doing all of this with map and compass. And we were in her little Mustang, her little late 90s Mustang. And I, as usual, was carrying my Glock 19 and 2 extra magazines, as was normal for me back in those days. And I'm not even sure we had a bug-out bag. I think we had some snacks and some water in the car. And we were following the map to a point where the solid line turned light gray in the map. And then I was trying to cut across to get from one highway to another without going way up to another city and doubling way back. And there was this little cut across, and I thought I would take that cut across. And it went from being a solid gray line to a dotted gray line. This turned out to be really nothing much more than a couple of ruts in the prairie where your wheels would go. And nothing, not a river, not a pond, not a lake, not a stream, nothing for really miles. No homes or anything. And we were cutting across about a 10-mile path on this basically grass road. It's not even a dirt road. We were along far enough to where I was starting to wonder whether I had made a huge mistake in leaving the paved road, and wondering how I could possibly turn around, and deciding, just being stubborn and wanting to push through when we saw them. A few at first, maybe 7 or 8 of them. Of all mixed breeds of dogs, it was really weird. There were little lap dogs, and there were big, scary dogs, and there were medium-sized dogs. Probably the saddest one I saw was a golden retriever who just seemed like some poor church boy who got caught up with a group of bad kids and was somehow in some kind of underworld drug environment, and he didn't belong there. He belonged home at church with his mom and dad. That poor golden retriever was so out of place. He was not the scallywag that the other mixed breed dogs, German shepherds, lots of Rottweilers, pit bulls. Okay, so it was just a few at first. And as we come up over the hill, we could see them all. And the reason that they were here is because there was a stock tank there that had water in it from some ancient cattle operation. But there was probably 800 or 900 dogs big dogs, little dogs, all of them various shades of shaggy, hair falling out, missing patches of hair, mange. They were scratching, they were fighting, they were copulating, they were chasing each other and playing, they were running through the woods, and there was no human beings or sign of human beings anywhere in sight, and they were clearly all feral dogs. Dogs that had been dumped along the interstates and found their way into this uninhabited area of prairie and this water source with all of the rodents and food that go along with a water source like that. And they were somehow surviving without any human help whatsoever, but they were a pitiful lot. And I will tell you that it scared me to death, because some of the dogs chased the car like it was humans here to save us, here, take us back to society and feed us. And others were looking at how they could get the food inside the snail, the meat inside the snail, the metal snail. You know, the car is like a shell with a crabby shell with the good meat inside, and the dogs wanted us out of there. They wanted to eat us. I could tell they were running alongside, looking in the car, starving. So many of the dogs were starving. They were rail thin. I don't know how they survived, except people were dumping them along the interstates faster than they could perish, I suppose. One of the scariest things I ever been through, and all we could do was pray that the car wouldn't break down. And sometimes the big dogs would get in front and try to herd the other dogs in front to stop us. And we just pushed through, because ultimately they were afraid of the car. We didn't run over any of them. We didn't hurt any of them. I wanted to help them, but there were so many. Yeah, close to 1,000. Somewhere is at least 800 dogs. Too many really to number, to count, you know. And but anyway, we pushed on through, got back to the road on the other side, and that is the story of the time I encountered an enormous pack of feral dogs. I would not have wanted to be on foot, even with a gun, with that many. I think they would just overcome you by numbers. It was like the zombie apocalypse, but only it was dogs. Whew. Man, what have we done to put loose that sort of thing in the world? We should be more responsible with pet ownership. But yeah, they're out there. Don't fall asleep in the wrong field. Ah!